We're here for one thing and one thing only, and that's to recognize one of our own. So, I hope you are ready to listen. I have in my hand the nomination for a distinguished member. This was voted on and approved by the General Assembly, by the Distinguished Member Assembly at the last annual meeting, and we are proud to finally get an opportunity to formally award the distinguished member to one of your own, and I will read the nomination that was approved by the membership. Dear Mr. President, it is my distinct honor and privilege to nominate Chief Warrant Officer Michael J. Fisette, retired, for distinguished member of the Chief Warrant and Warrant Officer Association, U.S. Coast Guard. CWO Fisette has served as the Association Vice President and President from 1987 to 1990. As Association Vice President, he served on the Permanent Finance Committee, Annual Picnic and Christmas Party Committees. CWO Fisette also published the monthly association newsletter. And in 1988, he coordinated with the Pacific Northwest chapter to hold the very first association annual meeting outside the D.C. area. CWO Fisette, along with the PNW chapter officers, held an extremely successful association meeting at the Navy Air Station Sandpoint. D-13 Commander was the guest speaker. As president of the association, CWO Fisette spearheaded the establishment of the Boston chapter, which included traveling to Boston to hold meetings and send out letters to all warrant officers in the area. He also was instrumental in the establishing the Cape Cod chapter. CWO Fisette initiated a white paper to CG personnel staff for the creation of responsibility pay for chief warrant officers serving as commanding officers afloat. The proposal was approved by the CG leadership and approved by Congress and signed into law that year. Congratulations. That's a big deal. I hope you got a pen. If not, I'll try to get you one.
I think I got it.
In his capacity as president, he continuously met with the chief of personnel, Rear Admiral Bell, on numerous issues affecting warrant officers, including the establishment of a CWOA academy, CWO command billets, and CWO permissions, etc. After his 2-year term as association president, CWO Fisette continued to be extremely active by volunteering for and was elected as president of the DC chapter. In order to increase awareness and membership in the association, he initiated monthly breakfast meetings and take your boss to lunch functions. This increased monthly turnout and membership, along with awareness of the association to numerous warrant officers and their superiors. I'm guessing that was on the barge. That's cool. I heard a lot about those. Those are awesome. Soon after transferring to D-13, CWO Fisette became very active in the local Pacific North chapter. He was elected president in 1995 and 1996. He started immediately conducting fundraising for the CWA Keller Scholarship and numerous other charity organizations sponsored by the chapter. He also continued representation of the chapter at the association annual meeting and served on the executive committee. And I just want to make a personal note on that. I would say that his efforts for the Keller Scholarship is what kept it alive, and it's what allows us to have a scholarship for our CWO members still today. So his efforts actually prevented that scholarship from going completely away, which the organization had tried to do multiple times before. So thank you for that, because it's a key thing that we do for our warrant officers. After his retirement from active duty, he remained very supportive and active in the Pacific Northwest chapter. He led a committee to reinstitute the annual Boss Luncheon, which included sending letters to all CWOs, active, reserve, and retired in the Puget Sound area. Well over 150 at the time. He also contacted the D-13 Admiral, Chief of Staff, and commanding officers of all Puget Sound units. This program that CWO Fisette coordinated was highly successful. It increased participation in the CWO monthly meetings by 200%. The Boss Luncheon program also promoted awareness of the CG leadership, which reflects highly on the association and all chief warrant officers. In 2000, as VP of Pacific Northwest Chapter, CWO Fisette led the committee effort to submit a package to the association to sponsor the annual meeting in Seattle. After the association voted on and accepted the Pacific Northwest chapter to be the location of the annual meeting for 2021, CWO Fisette immediately initiated and chaired the reception committee. He ensured that there was an adequate space with plenty of food and drinks for the 3-day meeting. When the Pacific Northwest, which is another reason why you guys should have a meeting here next year, just going to throw that out there. When the Pacific Northwest chapter was faced with low turnout and recruiting qualified candidates to serve in officer positions, CWO Fisette stepped up to accept the nomination and was elected to the office as president. With his fulfillment job as a financial officer, he was still dedicated to the association and chapter goals and directives. As president, CWO Fisette represented the Coast Guard and the association at numerous Memorial Day ceremonies and scholarship presentations at local high schools. He continued his service as president in 2001 and 2002, conducted monthly meetings, and ensured other competitive officers were nominated and selected, started fundraising events, along with serving on the association executive committee. In 2008, CWO Fisette set out to bike solo across the United States, flying the Coast Guard ensign the entire trip. He did this in a series of trips over the next 8 years. He also took a trip biking the East Coast, promoting the Coast Guard and CWOA along the way, and also returning to Cape May. His story and appreciation for the Coast Guard is listed in the Long Blue Line Fall 2021 edition. That's pretty awesome. And your legs must have been tired. I've been waiting a year to use that. More recently, in 2021, after reading the association was intending to hire a company, First Command, to manage its assets, CWO Fisette contacted the president and executive director and volunteered his expertise to review the proposal. Although the proposal was soon after approved, CWO Fisette still reviewed the contract and offered any further assistance. And I'm not going to lie, that conversation that we had together prior to signing that contract with First Command was exactly what I needed to make sure that we got exactly what we wanted out of them. And he's the reason why we don't have 16 banks, 38 bank accounts anymore. So thank you.
It's all in Silicon Valley Bank now.
Sorry about that.
It was there.
CWO Fisette is the founder of Fisette and Kim Financial Services, LLC. He is a certified financial planner and expert in financial services and has offered his professional expertise, which can be a valuable asset to our association, and it has been. And I'm very excited that he joined the Permanent Finance Committee, and he has been doing a great job in helping make sure that we're doing exactly what we need to do for the last year he's been on that. Recently, CWO Fisette started a matching gift challenge online for the Coast Guard Museum. He has raised over $500,000, in which over $250,000 was donated by him and his wife. Any updates on that? Like, have you reached any of the milestones?
Oh yeah, we well over 500,000.
Well over 500,000.
Oh, yeah.
So since this, he's continued to go beyond and well over the $500,000, which is amazing. Thank you. CWO Fisette was quoted by saying, "You can't take it with you, and if you're successful, you have a responsibility to help those who deserve it." Everybody in here needs to listen to that. He also approached heads of industry, encouraging them to donate to the Coast Guard Museum as well. The following comments I received from the current president and past president of the Pacific Northwest chapter about CWO's Fisette's contributions and dedications to the Chief Warrant Officers Association and the Pacific Northwest chapter has been nothing short of astounding. Mike has been instrumental in keeping the Pacific Northwest CWA staying afloat. Previous to the 2018 government shutdown, we were operating on limited funds and interest. Mike hosted several lunches to get folks involved in the association, and he picked up the tab. He has performed several recreational activities, such as biking the East Coast, while promoting the CWA along the way. During the 2021 meeting, Mr. Fisette attended and purchased lunch for those on site, Additionally, he has been helping me as the current president to understand legal requirements of nonprofits and financial budgets to run such a program. In conclusion, CWO Fisette's superior dedication, leadership, and enthusiasm to the Chief Warrant and Warrant Officer Association, continuing over 35 years, is extraordinary. It's extremely rare such devotion and loyalty to a cause, charity, or organization. Sincerely, as you were nominated by Wayne Zules, CWO4 retired, past Pacific Northwest President 2003 to 2009, and distinguished member. I also have a list of Mike's entire career. I can read it, but it serves a long time, and I think I'd rather hear more from you and what you have to say about this prestigious award. And I also want to take an opportunity to tell you that the national president apologizes he can't be here for you today. Unfortunately, he had to be in New Orleans for our quarterly meeting with that chapter that went over very well. But he congratulates you and welcomes you to the distinguished member group, and looks forward to your continued work with the association. So without further ado, we have our brand new CWOA Distinguished Member Plaque, and I'd like to present it to you at this time. So
Thank you, sir.
congratulations.
All right.
Anybody taking pictures? Beautiful. Thank you. All right.
Thanks, Mike.
The floor is yours, sir.
I just want to recognize Admiral Lockwood and his wife Cindy being with us. Two other people were behind that nomination too. Bob Golds, John Crawford, my good friends. We go way back, and great times. I mean, we'd have our annual meeting in the beer room down at Pier 36. I think we're banned from there for some reason. I don't know why. But just great times. What was the name of the retired cook who made Olympia?
Oh, Alberto Marquez.
Alberto, and we have Olympia every month at the meeting. Somebody complained one day, why are we having Olympia every month? And then Alberto said, the hell with all of you. Like we lost Olympia because somebody had a big mouth. Other people are so Bob and John, they did the write-up also, I thank them. My wife Gina, and quick story on Gina, almost 4 months ago, we almost lost Gina. Gina almost died overnight. She's in great shape, but she had a heart problem, and we thought it was genetic, but apparently it wasn't genetic, and her aorta was basically just coming apart. And we didn't know it, and took her to the ER, and some 29-year-old doctor diagnosed her properly. They rushed her into Seattle, lights and sirens to Sweden, or Cherry Hill, did a 10-hour surgery, 3.5 hours on the heart-lung machine, and she's all back to normal. So she got a clean bill of health from the doctor last Friday. She wouldn't have made the money. And I also want to introduce Ray and Karen Scoff. Now, Ray, client, friend, he's a retired aviator from the Navy.
Sorry, Ray.
Yeah. Anyway, Ray's here. Judy Matthew, close friend. I worked for her late husband, Ron Matthew, who was the district legal officer who worked for Admiral Lockwood also. And we had such great friendships and respect for each other over the years. And I worked in military justice with Ron, and he was known as the Beagle. I was known as the horse for my poor eating habits. And I'm still known as the horse to Judy. But just great friendships. Yeah, lots of great memories over the years. The W5 thing was just such a fiasco that we turned down that opportunity. Went to Admiral Bell, and the Coast Guard was ready to support it. But unfortunately, some people, for whatever reason, didn't want upward mobility. So it's a shame we lost that. Got the command of float assignments for the 110s when they came out for warrants. I was really proud of that. That was a big deal. 110s are being decommissioned. But the new cut is beautiful. Whatever they're called, they look like yachts, and it looks like something that Bezos would have. It's just the most beautiful ships. Anyway, just lots and lots of great friendships. And as I always tell people, and Gina too, everything we have in our life, we owe to the Coast Guard. Everything. If it weren't for the Coast Guard, who knows where I'd be. I'd either be working in a factory, I'd be dead, I'd be in prison. I think so many people in this room would probably have the same story. If they didn't come in the Coast Guard, who knows what their life would have been, but it probably wouldn't have been too good. So the Coast Guard has just given us amazing opportunities. You don't realize it till you're out and you look back, and all the worst times ended up being the greatest times. So anyway, I'm so thankful for this honor. It truly is an honor. Thanks, Bob. Thanks, John.